match preview ahead of the FA Cup round, fifth round tie away at Nottingham Forest, guys. And I got some surprise visitors here to give their opinions on that game and what's going to happen and what are their thoughts. Guys, get in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking and smash those likes and subscribe. Let's get this show on the road. And good afternoon, everybody. Good evening and good morning to those in the East Coast, West Coast, because it's late where I'm at. Hope you guys having a good evening, and I have a great show in store for you. Quick one, not too long. Just gonna talk about the what I think might be the possible starting 11. Probably a little bit of my own tweaking, and I've got a surprise guest for everyone, and I'm gonna bring him on and introduce him to everyone right now. And it's not other than my buddy Jarvis from MUFC Realist TV. Big up to you, Jarvis. How are you doing,
Hey,
bro?
hey, 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 Mark, how are you doing? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear
Is
you
my
well.
mic
Very
okay?
good. Very
Cool,
good.
cool. Yeah, good to be on. I haven't been on your channel, I think.
Yeah, you have been on once
Okay.
before, like in the earlys when I now started doing shows. But then you're
Cool.
super busy. So, it's always good. It's no problem. Whenever you feel free to come in, you could always come in and I will send you
I
the
have
invite links.
10, 15 minutes now, so I can contribute to the show. Yeah, that will be nice.
Yeah.
So what are we planning to do now? Are we talking about the game or?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the game because I feel like everyone was just talking about the weekend, and I'm kind of like over that right now, and I want to look to forward to what's going to happen. We have the presser coming up. Me and Mick, we're going to
Mm,
do the presser tomorrow at 1:45 UK time. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what I think might be the starting lineup because I think we should rotate. I'm one of those that I'm like we could sacrifice this cup or wing it, you know what I mean, and try to focus more on the league because I'd rather fight to get a point against Man City this weekend, than go out
mm.
not getting a point at all. So I'll just bring it to the stage and I'll put it up full screen. And Jarvis, you could tell me what you think. This is just the starting lineup that I just whipped up. I think it would be good if we start the Omari Forson up front and Ahmad Diallo maybe. It was just one of those things that what I was thinking. To be fair,
Yeah. Bring it up again so I can see it. It was a little bit.
so I could get it. Hold on one second, Jarvis.
Yes, yeah.
Can you see it
Okay, so
better?
we have Omari Forsen as left, Amad Diallo as striker, Ganacho on the right, Amrabat, yeah, I like Amrabat, Ericsson, McTominay, Anthony, left back. Yeah, that's a controversial one, but I like it. I like it. At least we have some balance with him with his left foot. Johnny Evans and Maguire, Dallo, and Bayender. Oh, you want to go with Bayender too?
Yeah. I'm like I like the Turkish lad. I think we should just leave the cup to him. That way we could rest Onana. I know Onana has been putting in some decent performances, really good saves in the last couple games. Although we lost, he
Mm.
did save 78% of the chances against him, and the game before it was 89. So I'm just saying, like let him get a little rest, because Man City is going to be a big game at the weekend, and we want them to be training intensely, but also rested well for the game. I like Harry Maguire's performance. I'm not too mad that he was done for pace by, that guy Traore. I think
Yeah.
that was always going to happen. I would have said maybe he could have taken him out and took a yellow card, but knowing the referee, he might have gotten a red. So I'm like, I mean,
In retrospect, there's no doubt about it. He should have just fouled him and take the red card. But it's easy to when we sit on the what do you call it, the answers. But yeah, it is what it is. But the end of the games are always chaotic. Everything can happen. So, but Maguire, yeah, he needs to start, and I think playing on the right is his best position. I don't like him when he plays on the left. He's too dilly dally on the ball. He takes too many touches. He slows down our build up, and it's not good. But when he plays on the right, we can utilize his long balls against Omari Forson, and I think Maguire can do okay. And you know this Nottingham Forest striker, what's his name again?
Tyrone
Albioni.
Awoniyi.
Yeah, he's good. He's strong, and he didn't play against us in the last game against Nottingham Forest because he was away on Afcon. But now he's back, and he's been scoring a lot of goals this season. I don't know what's his tally. It's about seven to 10 goals. I
I
would
think he
reckon.
has 8 goals so far,
Yeah, yeah.
and
So
Elanga
yeah,
has 8 assists.
I think Maguire can play this game, and but the best thing is Harry Maguire pairing up with Johnny Evans. I think that's important because Harry Maguire, he doesn't have the spatial awareness. He doesn't have the ability to sense where to stand all the time. But Johnny Evans, he influences Harry Maguire to be a better version. And Johnny Evans, he's one of the leaders, one of the generals in the back four. So I feel much more safe when Johnny Evans plays. What do you think, Mark?
Well, yeah, like I pretty much I really like Johnny Evans. Like I mean, he has to me aged more like fine wine. Like I know when he was coming in, I was like, does he really have it? You know what I mean? But he played for United, and in the time when he played for United, we were a winning team, and
Mm,
he was one of the huge contributors to that team. So I was like, maybe it's one of those things where his experience is going to contribute to the youth we have coming through in defensive midfield as well as in defense, namely like Willie Kwambala. I didn't put him in the team sheet there, but I was thinking, if we was to go up in the lead first half, maybe a 2-0, you can see him come on in the second half for Harry Maguire or even a Diego Dallo. You know what I mean?
mm,
Because he's very quick. He can play up the flank. He plays right back sometimes for the under 20 and under 18. So I think Willie would be a good addition to the team. I just think that Johnny Evans knows what to do, and he's shown this season that his experience is more valuable than his legs. And
yeah.
even though I say his legs, he's been doing a really good job staying fit and keeping up in defense, leading the line for us. And I was like saying I would put Anthony at left back to pair with him because Anthony is fit, young, can run a lot, and it would help Johnny Evans and in turn help him because
Mm,
Johnny Evans could direct him and control him and be like, listen, you need to be here, here, or here when we're defending. And when you're going forward, I just need you when I call you, you come back. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
I feel like it would be a good marriage, and it's just something to work with because we don't really have an available left back at the moment. So it's
Mm,
it's
mm.
kind of hard to say that we're not gonna we don't have a choice, but we need to be creative. It's like we can't put Lindelof out right now because he's possibly injured. So I would like
Ooh,
to, probably
I
use
haven't heard that.
Anthony
Is it
because
possibly injury on Lindelof? Okay, okay.
yeah, I'm waiting
Oh,
because when he came off this weekend, he had a strain in his hamstring.
mm-hmm.
It's the same thing for Bruno. This is why I don't think Bruno will play. That's why I'm saying, you know what? Let's just put Ericsson in the 10. It's not a game where we need him to run a lot. We could put a Amrabat and even put a Collymore next to him. I put Scott McTominay there because I couldn't find Collymore. But
Mm,
at the same time, when I put Scott McTominay, I was like, look, Garnacho is a youngster that he's a senior starter consistently.
yeah, yeah.
And if we're gonna put out an attack, we need to have someone who's gonna draw the defense's attention.
Mm,
So
mm,
I was saying like this gives me a good opportunity to put Garnacho in the starting lineup. Maybe we can take him off in the second half. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But start him, put Ahmad in the center because he's used to playing a false nine, and let
mm,
Amari Forson do his thing on the left wing.
yeah, yeah.
So I was thinking more about keep it
Looks fun.
mostly the
The
same.
only thing I would say about that team, Mark, is I would like Garnacho and Dallo to have a rest, to have a day off, because both of them are. I think they are overplayed at the moment, and Garnacho, he will soon drop in form if we keep playing him 90 minutes every game. The same with Diego Dallo. He has been the third. He has the third most minutes in Man United this season. So and he's our only available fullback. So I don't want to risk him before the City game. So for me, I think those two guys needs to stay on the bench or stay at home.
So maybe we could put like let me see if we could put Willie Kwambala in here
Mambala, yeah.
and probably, play a low mid block. You know what I
Mm,
mean? That mightn't be too bad.
no, there you have him, Willie.
Yeah, that's not too bad. But what other option we're gonna put up front here?
We talked about it on the latest stream with MUFC Realist TV that we could probably utilize McTominay as a number 9 and Diallo on the right, and then we just have to find another midfielder. And you mentioned one of the young kids who
Yeah,
was on the
Collymore.
bench,
He's
Collymore.
been
Yeah.
sitting on the bench. I just can't find him in the thing. I can't
Mm.
remember his first name either. Collymore, Collier. His name is Collier, man.
Collier or
Toby.
something.
Let me see if he's there. Hold on.
But
Toby.
yeah, just for resting players, and to be honest with you, I like the FA Cup, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if we lost that game. And if we go through, it's the quarterfinal, and then we have the semifinal and the final, so we'll be three more games with the thin squad already. So for
100%.
us fighting for the top four or alternatively top five, it could be vital for us those extra games. So it could cost us more than we can win with the thinking of the FA Cup. Um, but I know the FA Cup is it has deep traditions in British English football, and it's one of the major trophies. It's like FA Cup, the league, and the Champions League. That's the three that counts for me, and all the others are just like semi okay. But I like the FA Cup, and it's a good cup to win, but not this year. I wouldn't put all my horses and on the FA Cup.
Totally agree with that comment, Jarvis, because I feel like it's more important we fight to see if we could get either fourth or fifth, get into the UEFA so we can keep the balance on the FFP because it's
Mm,
really important. A lot of fans, I know we need to chop this squad up. You know what I mean? But we also have to take into context that even if we get good money for one or two players, we need to get decent money for a lot of players if we want to get in players to replace them.
yeah,
And I feel like thinking that like there possibly is going to be 300 million to spend from now is bad. I feel like we should think about it like we have 100 million and we need to add to that with some sales. And then we need to be creative in the players that we bring in the summer. So yeah, like for me, I wouldn't take the FA Cup too seriously because we got 12 Premier League games left. That's a
mm,
possible 36 points. Let's just say 34 if we get a draw at City. But
yeah.
I guaranteed we can fight for 33 points. Even Liverpool this season, they're without Mo Salah when they face us because he has a 2 month delay on his return date.
How many points do you have at the moment?
We currently have 44 points.
44. Yeah, and you said it's 34 points left to fight for.
Hmm.
34, that brings us up to 78, but we need to be around the 70 point tile to be in the in the fight for top 4, I believe. So yeah, it could be done. Yeah, but we can't lose more than maximum 3 more games.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at it from the perspective where those 3 games involve Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City. You know
Mm,
what I mean? I already deducted 2 points off the Man City and take a draw, and I'm saying it's possible because we have the home away fixture record against these two clubs. We usually win at home. You know,
mm,
so
yeah.
it's one of those things where I'm just looking at with Hoyland back from injury 2 weeks from now 2 weeks ahead of the Arsenal, 3 weeks of no wait, 5 weeks ahead of the Arsenal clash. He
Mm,
has 2 games before we play Arsenal. You know what I mean? I
yeah.
feel like he also is going to be back 2 weeks before the Liverpool game, so it will also bolster us. Martinez will be back from the last from game week 10. when we have
If we
nine
get
left.
players back, April and May could be good times for us. But it's the rest of February and beginning of March that will be the problem. Now we have 3 to 4 games coming up before we get players back from injury. And we one of the biggest issues at the moment, as we mentioned and we talked about, is the left back. We don't have the right balance when we play with Lindelof. Lindelof has a right foot every time he receives the ball.
Exactly.
His natural position is to pass the ball backwards and sideways. It's never finding the right angles going forward, and hinder us in the build-up play all the time, because everything depends on Dallo.
True.
But Dallo, is not even available. He inverts into the midfield, so I think it's very difficult for Ten Hag to figure out a way for us to play. And it's about relations, and it doesn't seem to me that Maguire trusts Lindelof when it comes to the build-up play. We could see it. He seldomly
Gives the ball
gave him
to
the ball. Yeah.
Lindelof. He's always
So.
looking for Dello over on.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah.
mm,
I've seen it too. I'm just thinking like, this is why I said, we can drop Anthony in there with Johnny Evans. That gives Maguire some ability to feel comfortable, but because he's just gonna be like, hey, Johnny's there. I'm
yeah.
gonna give him the ball. Let him take the fall. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And Johnny Evans, for me, he has that read ability, that vision. He's gonna make good decisions, and then he's gonna instruct players while the game is going on. I've seen him do it with Willie Kwambala against
yeah.
Liverpool. And, for me, it's like, it's a risk. But if you want to get far in the cup, we're going to have to get creative there and keep the strongest 11 for the league.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's been reported that Malacia should be going back on grass from game week training tomorrow.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's like, so it's one of those things where he's not going to be rushed. So we're not going to see him probably for 2 more weeks, but
Mm,
he's going to be back on grass. So I
mm,
think that's positive. At the same time, I'm looking at it from the perspective, look, Anthony is familiar with all these players. He's left-footed, and for me, I could shoe and say that he's one of those players that if the gaffer tells him, "Listen, I need you to play here," he's going to do it and do it to the best of his ability.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. For me, I think you talked about Evans, and the problem against Fulham was sitting in the mid block to a low block, and they were just waiting for us to lose the ball and then counter attack us. And they had runners like Pereira, Iwobi, Thomas, a lot of those guys. They were just
blitzing
bombing
down the
on, and
flanks.
and we had problems keeping up. Um, but when it came to building out from our own defense, they didn't press us at all. They had just one, the Brazilian guy, semi pressing
Munez,
pressing us. So it wasn't the biggest challenge for us. Um, but we saw it against Luton when Varane and Maguire played. We had big problems because Luton were pushing up high and really putting us under pressure, and we didn't have a way out in a way. But everything changed the moment we put Johnny Evans on, because Johnny Evans, he is experienced. He knew what to do. We just split Varane and Johnny Evans wide and pushed the center backs high up, fullbacks high up. Suddenly there was space because we pushed Luton back, and then we had a way out to play out from the back. And maybe Nottingham Forest will try to, because they are at home, they will probably push us and try to press more, and it will put us under pressure. So playing with Evans is a good shout. He's
yeah,
better playing out from the back under pressure. He's more composed, and I think he has the experience and in-game knowledge to understand what to do.
one hundred
And this
percent.
comes back again to when we talk about Ten Hag and his tactics. Everybody goes on Ten Hag every time something goes wrong, but for me, it's about players. They are seasonal pros. They are playing football for a living. They get paid big, huge amounts of money to play football, and they should understand what to do in certain situations.
100%.
It's up to them to solve the problems in a way, because it's
Exactly.
not Ten Hag who is out on the field. It's the players. and that's why I trust Johnny Evans.
Yeah, me too. And I see Stu Wally's coming in big right now. He's saying Eric Ramsey has officially left for the MLS. And I think fans, that would be very good news. And to you as well, Jarvis, because I know he was doing your head in for the last couple years with what he was doing as the set piece coach. Couldn't
Hmm.
figure him out. I couldn't.
No, no, no. We haven't been producing much, especially on corner kicks. We have been wasting corner after corner. But it's something about the serve. We have players. Mostly it's Luke Shaw and Bruno who take the corner kicks, and I think we are not good. Though both of them are not. They are too imprecise. You never know. They don't put the serve in at the same spot at this every time. And it's about relations. People. Okay, we can train all day long about putting the ball on the back post, and everybody goes around there and try to head it in the goal. But if Bruno can't hit his mark, we are in trouble. So for me, the set pieces was extremely much better when Ericsson was on the corner kicks, but
Mhm.
now Ericsson doesn't even play, so we lost that ability. But it was better in the beginning of the last season before the World Cup when Ericsson played every game, every minute. We were much better on set pieces. Do you agree
Wouldn't you?
or?
I agree. I agree. Ericsson is much better at set pieces. And I mean, for me, like I don't like seeing Ericsson play the deeper role. You know what I mean? I would
No.
prefer if it switched. You put Ericsson in the 10 and let Bruno play the 8 if you have to play Ericsson. Because
Mm.
I really feel it's unfair to Ericsson to put him in an 8 role. I'm not even gonna make any arguments there. Big up
Mm.
to Stephanie Griffith coming in.
Hey,
Hope you're
Stephanie.
having a good night. Long one for you. 5 likes, guys. Smash those likes. Let's try to get to 10. It's a small channel, but every like counts and it helps to get it around. But like you were saying, Jarvis, like I feel like Ericsson, like I don't know, be mad at Ericsson, right? But I'm genuinely mad that he's in the 8 because I know he's not going to provide that mobility there.
Yeah,
And his
yeah.
best tactics and his best abilities is not being used. Like in the 10, he doesn't have to run much. And we're
Mm.
not going to expect him to track back if he's in the 10. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
And whether he lasts 60 minutes or not, I feel like if he's in the 10, that 60 minutes is going to be a worthwhile 60 minutes.
Mm,
You know what
mm.
I mean? It's why I
Ericsson is
put him
more
in the
about
lineup.
control. It's more
Hmm?
about control, and he sets the tempo of the game. He has the ability to slow it down or speed it up when needed, and that's what I like with Ericsson. He's our only ball player in a way besides Mainu in
Hmm.
this team, and that's why I would like to see him. And I'm not quite sure about Amrabat. I think he has that ability, but we haven't seen it yet. I think he's a much better ball player than we give him credit for, because it's always been hectic. He's been moved around from left back to centrally to playing 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, sitting on the bench 3 games.
That
It's been a mess.
That's been what's worried me the most about Amrabat. He strikes me as one of those players, and I keep saying it. There are a few players that they need a run of games. The
Mm,
more games they play, the better their form is.
mm,
Casemiro is like that.
yeah,
As much as I'm mad at Jadon Sancho, he is also like that. You know what I mean? So I feel like for Amrabat, the problem is he's not getting consistent game time. Now, I can't really be mad at Eric Ten Hag. I just wish that when Casemiro was coming off, Amrabat would be coming on. That's just me.
yeah. That's the
You
thing.
know what I
That's the
mean?
thing.
So it's one of those things where we have to wonder like what's happening and what is Eric Ten Hag seeing. Now, in a way, I feel like the team has improved a lot from the first 6 months.
Hmm.
But I just feel like at this point, the loss that we had this weekend, it just kind of undid all what with the fan base, because there's a lot of positivity from everyone over the last few wins, and it was looking like top four was definitely on. And then we had that performance, and I feel like like I'm always criticizing Rashford, but I would always say it. He's a talisman. His role in this team is very important, and I feel
Yeah,
like he's one of the major players that needs to have the ball, play with the ball, drive with the ball in order for the attack and the team to function,
yeah,
And
yeah.
when he's not on his game, he's losing the ball quicker than he normally would. he's
Mm.
stopping and he's doing odd things that he doesn't normally do, and then that puts us into a problem situation, and it also causes Bruno to go mad and crazy. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Mm.
So I
But you
feel
talk
like,
about you talked about Rashford, stopping.
yeah,
And this is the problem with Rashford. I think you are analyzing it perfectly, but because Rashford's ability is not a good dribbler, but he has extreme pace, and that's the thing with Rashford. So now he has made this thing always when he receives the ball, he stops with the ball and invite the pressure. So basically, he lets the defender come closer. So it's harder for him to kick the ball and run.
mm,
That's the problem. He
exactly,
should be more up front. Don't let the defender come up to him. If you see them, just kick the ball, run
run.
into the space. It shouldn't be that hard because he's so much quicker than anybody else. But he should have had coaches who told him what to do, because now he needs a little bit of coaching.
Yeah. And it's like I look at the games, right? And I don't know if I'm mad, right? But sometimes I look at the games and people say Bruno makes a Hollywood pass. And I'm not going to defend Bruno because it goes wrong and it's bad. But what I'm saying is if Rashford, no, technically from in my head, judging the flight of the ball, I'm like, if Rashford was chasing that, he gets it. And it feels to me like Bruno is telling some of the players, like, listen, I am going to possibly drop that ball there. The next time we're in a situation like this and you are in that position, I need you to be there because this is
Mm,
where I'm going to put the ball. You know what I mean?
mm,
And I feel like they don't pay attention to that sometimes
mm.
because I feel like Garnacho, if you look at Garnacho and his link up with Bruno, it's almost organic, right? Like if Bruno puts the ball out wide, you always see Garnacho is there.
Yeah.
If Bruno is in the midfield, sometimes when Garnacho cuts in, there's a 1-2 happening between them. And I
Mm,
feel like it was happening in the last few games with Rashford because he was passing and moving, making little runs. But I feel like now, when he's supposed to be that guy, now I'm not saying he should hold the ball up well because I was not expecting that. But when he was at center forward, I feel like if he was making runs in behind or making runs and drawing the defenders away from the center of the park, I feel like we would have a much better chance against Fulham.
yeah.
But he was just there standing, trying to be like, do what Hoyland does. And
Mm,
it's like, for me, if I know I'm not good at hold up play, I'm gonna try to do what I'm good at,
mm,
all while trying to, fit the mold of the team.
mm,
And I feel like he doesn't even think for himself sometimes. He's just like,
mm. Do
I'm
you
gonna
think
do
do you
this. If it
think
works, it works.
Rashford
If
is
it doesn't
carrying
work,
an injury?
hmm?
Do you think Rashford is carrying an injury because we hardly see him sprint anymore?
Exact. I
If
don't know. I don't want to say it
if you
because I'm not
remember him
sure.
from on the Solskjaer, for example, when the interim period, the first 6 months of Solskjaer, the first 10 games, Rashford was running all the time. He was sprinting all the time, and especially in his press play, he was sprinting into press. But now we hardly see him sprint anymore. What's up with that?
Yeah, I heard still someone was saying earlier. I'm not too sure which one it was in the chat earlier when you was there in the MUFC Village stream that maybe Rashford is on painkillers or something. And to be fair, I haven't paid attention to it because normally I'm like, yeah, I know he's fit, and if he wasn't fit, he'd be on the bench injured, and there was never any announcement. But as you're asking that question, and I think about it, yeah, this is like the third game in a row. I haven't seen him make any daring runs,
Hmm.
and push and go chasing after a ball. So I'm not too sure if he's possibly picked up an injury. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
see Stephanie's coming in here saying we need options off the bench in the midfield other than McTominay. Releasing Hannibal and Donny with Mount injured was another unfortunate or daft decision. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I would blame most of those things on the fact that we have Fletcher and Wood and Murtaugh deciding most of these things. Stephanie, I don't think it's tequila tendonitis. Being honest, I know, I'm critical of Rashford Jarvis, but at the same time, like I would never put it past myself and my own narcissism to say that he's not valuable and very important to the way we play football.
Mm.
And when you put up the stats the last few weeks, you had a stat on the way the team lines up and the heat map, and it's
Mm.
so left sided,
It is.
right? And when I looked at the stat, and then I went and I did some research. I'm like, we tried to find Rashford so much times. It
Mm.
feels to me like Bruno is more of a funnel rather than the guy supposed to keep the ball.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, well, that's weird because the number 10 supposed to be the one keeping the ball, right?
mm,
So then I
mm,
was looking at it and I looked at it over the last few games, not the one on Saturday because I was totally mad about the game. So I didn't bother to look back. But when I looked at it over the last 5 games, I was looking at Rashford was having more minutes on the ball than any other player, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
after Rashford, it was Garnacho. And after Garnacho, it was Casemiro. And then it was Bruno. And then I was like, maybe. And then in the games
yeah,
with when Martinez was fit, it was Martinez, Rashford, Garnacho. You know, so I'm like, maybe our the way we play and our systematic design is not meant for Bruno to keep the ball longer than most of it, but it's him to get it to the players who Ten Hag wants to keep the ball
mm,
and drive with the ball, i.e., Rashford and like a Garnacho up front or like a Hoyland, because the other guys that if you notice Bruno in the last few games, he hasn't been really
yeah.
doing as many Hollywood passes as you would think,
No, no, no.
or that we were saying.
I
He was
agree.
keeping
I
it
agree.
simple with more short passes, linking up with Garnacho, Rashford, and sending the ball back. So I was just thinking that maybe Rashford needs to have a good game for our tactics to really kick on during in the attacking phase and in the way we control the game. I don't know if
Mm.
I'm right about that.
Yeah, I think you're on to something, and I just watched the player positions of last game, and Rashford and Bruno are as high up. As, Bruno is almost like a second striker, not a number 10 in the heat map. Um, but when you talk about we are being left sided against Luton, we were right sided. Amazingly enough on the heat map. I'm not sure why it happened against Luton, but we were. And as you mentioned, Bruno has been better on the ball. His pass completion has been around the 80 to 85%, and that's good. He's not too wasteful on the ball. So I think he has picked up on that. Against Spurs, he was down to, I don't know, 61% or something like that. So he was so wasteful, and we were bobbed around the pitch with
Yeah.
Hoiberg and Skip.
And Skip,
Yeah,
Hoiberg
yeah,
and Skip, Jarvis.
the dynamic duo. So, but Bruno is a problem. But the problem, as I see it, is he's the only creative output. That's the biggest problem. We don't have much creativity in our team.
I
Um,
mean, I was just thinking about the game midweek. It might be a chance for us to see what Ahmad could do at 10 or at false nine.
mm,
I feel like this is the time Eric Ten Hag should just say, you know what, I'm gonna try some things. I feel
yeah.
like the last few weeks he has been more settled, so I'm not too worried about his decision making right now. I don't think he's under too much pressure. Like, contrary to what reports think, I feel like he's going to be given at least to the end of his contract. Ineos and them, I feel like they might just renew his contract over the summer quietly and put in a clause that if they need to get rid of him, they could get rid of him, right after the year ends. So that way they don't have to spend the 18 million. But at the same time, I just look at it from the perspective that we should just focus on the league, try to attain Europe as
Mm,
high as we can, and you know that not risk any players midweek in the FA Cup.
mm, mm. I agree. I agree. I see Stephanie comes in and said that Bruno and Rashford is far too predictable, and that's the issue. I agree, Stephanie. That's a good comment. Nureddin on United Real Therapy talks about this all the time, and he said it's not sustainable the way we utilized our attack, and especially last season. Okay, Rashford had the purple patch, but our only output was give the ball to Bruno, and Bruno gives the ball to Rashford, and Rashford scores. So yeah, you are 100% spot on, Stephanie. We are far too predictable. But this is Ten Hag's issue too, because he's been letting this go on for now almost one and a half season, and even more. So he needs to experience more, as Mark mentioned, and try something different. We have players with abilities. That's not the problem. Amadiello, he was superb for Sunderland last season, and he scored so many goals and assisted so many goals. So we know he can do it. It's just about getting him
giving him the
into the
chance.
rhythm, and giving him the confidence.
Yeah, I feel like now is the time where like we didn't just need to get rotating players right now. We don't we should rest as much as we can some of the players for the last 10 games. So like over the next 3 games, I think we have if we win this FA Cup tie, we have another FA Cup game in
Mm,
2 weeks,
mm,
which would mean that it would be this game, the City game, the game after City in the Premier League, then an FA Cup tie, then the players would be going on international break for 2 weeks.
yeah, yeah.
That gives us time to get players back from injury, especially like Martinez, who's due back in the second week of March.
Well,
So,
I'm not that optimistic when it comes to Martinez. No,
well,
I don't think yeah.
I'm not hoping for him to start until the last 5 games. That's just me. The
Mm,
last five
mm,
games is where I want to see him because those games are the games where we start Liverpool, then we have Liverpool, Brighton, Arsenal, and I think Liverpool, Brighton, Arsenal, and I think we have Brentford as well as Sheffield. Sheffield? I think so. Those are
yeah.
the last 5 games, I believe.
Mm, mm,
So for me, the last 5 games, I would like to see Martinez. The
mm,
last from game 9 of the last 9 games, I would like to see Hoyland back starting. You know, and the rest, anything else, like let me say, Malasia should be back before the end of March. It's one of those things where I feel like it will be cool, but
yeah.
for now, let's rotate what we have and try to get by for the next 3 games. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And
mm.
try some things because you never know. You know
But
what I
don't you
mean? Look
think
at
Ten
Kobe
Hag
Mino.
feels the pressure that his job is on the line now because of the latest results against Fulham? Now, if we lose against Forest in the cup, and Manchester City, that will be three on a row. And the knives are out. The knives are out, and you see the pundits. Even Gary Neville to yesterday spoke about how they will assess Ten Hag, and he was very cautious talking about Ten Hag. He wasn't like the good old Gary Neville backing the manager. Now he was more
True.
reserved. So I feel maybe even Ineos has made up their mind about Ten Hag already.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that they probably don't want
Hey,
to
Craig.
get in their own manager. Big up to you, Craig Warby. Hope you're having a good one. Extended birthday celebrations, you know. But it's like for me, I'm looking at it from the perspective where, he did say that for 11 seasons we've had quality managers and they've all never succeeded. So
Mm,
maybe it's not just them. So I'm looking at it from the perspective that he might just be just given his last year to see what he can do with a
mm,
structure behind him. Also, I feel like Jim wants to break the squad up and get some new faces into the team and change it a bit. So I feel like this might happen before. And if I'm just going on that from that perspective, and I'm saying, well, yes, he's going to have to get at least to top four.
yeah.
But I don't feel like the FA Cup is going to be that huge of a deal. I feel like
Mm,
if we
mm,
lose this in the midweek against Nottingham Forest, is how we lose against them. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like if we take it down to the wire and maybe penalties or something, then I could live with that. And I feel like he could probably live with that.
When it comes to Ten Hag, because to understand what's going on, you gotta try to think like Ineos or Berada and Ashford and Sir Jim. What they are thinking at the moment is, okay, what will be the cheapest, to keep Ten Hag and get rid of all the players, or to get rid of Ten Hag and get the best out of the already existing group of players? I'm just playing the devil's advocate, not my thoughts, but
True.
to see why they would consider sacking Ten Hag. because you got to remember Ten Hag. He said in the beginning of the season. I will find the quote here because it's very important. Nuruddin always talks about that. Ten Hag said that he came here and he don't want to play the Ajax style,
Well,
but
he
that
didn't
wasn't
actually
what
say
Ten
that.
Hag
He
was
said he
saying.
can't. He said he can't play the Ajax way at Manchester United. And and to be fair, like I agree with it because he can't, and it's not based on the fact that it's not him not wanting to do it. I just feel like it's the players we have don't really fit that mold because they need to have high intelligent
What
players.
the thing is, he said people never play that football because those were different players. My thoughts on this is, if we want the best out of our players, why do we bring in a possession based coach and make him play transition football? Wouldn't it be better to bring in a coach who plays transition football to get the best out of the already existing group of players? In a way,
True.
now we are shoehorning something that doesn't seem to work.
Well,
In a
I
way,
feel like I agree with the comments there, but if you look at it from this perspective, they had a meeting with Ralph Ragnick where they said Sir Jim and Dave Brailford had a meeting with Ralph Ragnick, right? And if they did, I would think that these players won't be the players they would be trying to get the best out of because five managers can't be wrong. And for some players, it's two, some players, it's three, but for some players, it's five managers. Marcus Rashford here since
mm,
Van Gaal. So it's like, for me, I feel like maybe Ineos might cash in on some of the players and bring in some players. And I'm not saying 10, 14. I'm saying like 6, 7. Like get
yeah,
6 out, bring in 5, which I feel will be good because we have a lot of youngsters. People forget we have youngsters on loan, and a lot of people might be thinking of the old United that those youngsters are going to be sold.
yeah,
But if you look at Alvaro and you look at Palestri, these are youngsters who played some of the majority of minutes in preseason. So definitely Tenak has a plan. Now the
mm,
plan for me, I can't tell you what it is because I'm not Ten Hag. But
mm,
I can't also look at it and say he doesn't fancy Jadon Sancho because he backed him for 3 months while the media and everybody was questioning him. I can't say he doesn't like Palestri because he always tried keeping Palestri from going on loan and to
mm,
give him minutes.
mm,
But I feel like he didn't want Palestri to get contaminated by some of the players because when you play Palestri, if you look at the games with Palestri, you need to have players who making more runs around him
mm.
because he's that kind of player that is looking to find players, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like Dan Gore Jr., like you, like Isaac Hansen, like is a player that I really liked.
Mm,
I always thought though that maybe for the Premier League, the way the English look at the game, he would be small on the
yeah.
size
Yeah.
scale.
It's
But
more
I
like
always
Bernardo
hope that he
Silva.
would grow into a little bit of a stature, because for me,
But
like
he's more like Bernardo Silva, you know.
I
The figures
agree.
on the ball, it doesn't matter, but you have to play a certain type of style. You need to cherish possession. You need to keep
Exactly.
hold of the ball. And that's the problem with the way we are playing at the moment. There's no chance for Isaac Hansen in this current Man United team.
But
It's
you
a
know,
waste.
Jarvis, one of the things I heard, not sure how true it is that they was thinking from a perspective where look, Dan Gore partnered Kobe for 2 years.
Mm.
If Dan Gore could get some experience with, at the level of the championship or the first league, then we could get him into the squad next season and he would already have that partner in Kobe Menu to help
Yeah,
foster his
it's true.
promotion.
True.
So I'm looking at it like, listen, if we get in 5 to 6 players and we sell 7 players over the transfer window, we have at least 4 to 5 young players coming into the squad as well who will be
Mm.
coming back from loans and gaining experience. Alvaro playing in the Europa League as a starter for Benfica right now. So it's one of those things where, you never know the plan. The plan could be a lot different from what we perceive in. We don't know. Eric Ten Hag job could be on the
But this
line.
is where I think a lot of fans have problems with Ten Hag, basically speaking, because we don't know the plan. What is he trying to do, and why isn't he trying more to utilize his own vision and set his mark on this team? Because now we are playing more advanced counter-attacking style than Solskjaer. And I heard a lot of pundits today who were really big Ole outers talking about we were much more to fun to watch under Ole, much more attacking. They liked the way we scored goals and like wishing we went back to that.
True. I
So
heard
so for
that
me,
myself.
yeah, but something doesn't add up, you know. And for me, Ten Hag should have more balls. Sorry, my English, but he should have more guts to play his own style, I believe. And you know, if it means that he has to bench Bruno and Rashford, so be it. Play players who suit his type of style. Don't shoehorn in some type of hybrid of possession-based transition football who doesn't work anyway for me.
True.
And I think that's the biggest problem people have with Ten Hag. He's not consistent. He doesn't have the stubbornness as a lot of other coaches have with his own style. When you talk about the Spurs manager, the Brighton manager, people see them getting the best out of Dunk, for example, making Dunk a ball playing center back. How is that possible?
Well, I
It's
mean,
because De Serbi is consistent. He has demands for his players, and
but at the
people
same
I think
time,
people
wouldn't
want
you
to
say
see
that?
that from Ten Hag.
I would like to see it too, but wouldn't you say that some of the players, like, okay, i.e., there are some players that we see vast improvements of from since Ten Hag came in, and we know most of them aren't the high earners, you know.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, for me, I look at it from a perspective where a player also has to want to change, want to follow the manager's style. He has to believe that doing this is going to make him better, you know.
Mm,
And I just get this feeling that we have some players that don't think like that. They think that they're already great, you know what I mean, and they're
mm,
not getting to do their thing, and that's what not making them great.
mm,
And that, I feel, defeats the system, the style, or the reason, the point of having a system more than the system. So it's like I look at some games and I see, well, when these players give effort, Ten Hag's tactics work wonders,
mm,
you
mm.
know. But then when they don't give it, because, all right, if I was to use the Fulham game as an example, right, I would say this, right? Big up to you, Stu. Stu, have a good night, bro.
Good night, Stu. Good night.
I was just thinking that, in the first half, when we went off to the half, we was 0-0. Fulham had 8 shots, 3 on target. No, 2 on target, right?
Mm,
Man United had 4 shots, 1 on target. And at the end of the game, United had 21 shots, 12 on target.
yeah.
And Fulham had 15 shots or 18 shots and 4 on target or 5 on target, right? And I was like, somebody playing with me here. We had more corners than Fulham, more offsides and stuff, and more possession. And I was like, something is wrong. This stat is wrong. This is not the game I was looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but stats is something else. You gotta learn to read stats in a way because stats always sometimes lies, not always, but a lot of the time lies. Um, and stats is difficult to understand because a lot of big chances are squandered away and not even counted as a shot and stuff like that. But they are even bigger than a shot from 20 yards that goes 5 meters outside the goal in a
Mm,
way. But it's about fine margins. In the Fulham game, for example, we had one big chance for McTominay. He came on was a very narrow angle and he took a shot and he had 3 to 4 players on the cutback pass if he had opened his eyes and lifted his head, but he chose to shoot and for me he made a big chance to a small chance by shooting. So this is the fine margins I'm talking about, and we could have done better, but Fulham could have done a lot better. They had so many counter-attacking chances, good transitional chances, and they were just wasting it time after time with Pereira and
Willian,
William or
Amy Willian, the guy, the Nigerian fella,
Thomas and
Iwobi,
Iwobi. Yeah.
And for me, I like. I just feel like, you know what, if Ten Hag had a few players more that he could bring on that will just work hard in some positions, we might be better
Mm,
off, even if they weren't star players, because I feel like, you know, if we had a player working hard on the left, Garnacho would do the job on the right. Because then the defenders would be off balance. They would have to focus on both players and
mm,
both of them doing different things. I
mm.
feel like if we had a player in defense who could help by being really aggressive, like and tackling and that kind of in your face player and consistent like Martinez, if he was out injured, to come in to the team, we would still have that same
Yeah,
principle coming out from
yeah,
the back. And
yeah.
I feel like the recruitment team has vastly let Ten Hag down. I feel like they need to like in a way, he need to get a player who could actually replace Martinez
Mm, mm.
and our backup striker before we could really say, look, he should be getting the best out of players who coming in to take over from them.
Yeah.
Because what we have coming in is like nowhere near the profile. So the drop off gonna be drastic. The change in the style going to be drastic. So it's like you almost forced with no choice but to change,
Mm,
if you
mm.
know what I mean. Well, Craig, I'm definitely speaking about the recruitment team as in Fletcher and Murto. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
these are the guys that are actually in charge of the loans and movements at the club, in and out the club with youth players. So when people sit down and think Eric Ten Hag sent these youngsters on loan, it's not really the case. Now, in some instances, as a manager, he will have to let players go if they ask. And, he doesn't really have like clear options and look, this is the game time I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
Then he will have no choice. He will let them go because it also helps them develop, whether they at the club or not. Game
Mm,
time is what helps these young players. So I feel like it's not always bad. But this one time, I feel like there's no way anyone could have predicted that that maybe Malacia would have gotten an injury based on the injury he already had and not be able to come back into the squad. I
mm,
feel
mm.
like he there's no way he could tell that Luke Shaw, after they kept him in cotton wool for 6 months, wouldn't come back and be fully fit. I feel like Martinez, no one could have expected, that guy, that player from West Ham to drop himself on his knee. That's
No,
like a
no,
spur of
no.
the moment decision in the heat of the moment. I can't even blame him, Kufa.
Kufal.
Now I would have loved for him to get a red
Kufal was
card.
the name of the player.
Yeah, Kofal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call him Kofal. But I wish he could have got a red card, honestly, because I feel like that was intentful. You know, I feel like he naturally threw himself on the man body, and
Yeah,
that should have
yeah,
been a.
yeah. I agree. I agree. I agree. It was a little bit malice that what
So
he
for
did.
me, when I look at some of the injuries that we have and some things that happen, like Hoyland came in, he had a minor back thing, missed a few games, but then since then he's been the stalwart. He hasn't been injured. He hasn't nothing. And it's just so
Yeah, but I
shocking that
said
he
it. I
picked up a
said it when it
small
comes to
injury.
Hoyland. I said it on the stream with Nuruddin the day before he
You
was
did
injured. I said it because you understand. You see players how tired they are at the end of the game, and you can't keep pushing yourself that way every game.
100,
You can't without the rest now and then because your body needs to recover, and especially when you're young,
especially.
especially when you're young.
You know,
So that this is why I'm really worried about Menu and especially Garnacho because I think he will be next if we keep pushing him.
well, I've seen that well, in my opinion, Mainu has gotten more breaks than even Hoyland.
Mm.
He's came off in like 4 games and then he was benched for like 2 games. So it's one of those things. I'm worried about Garnacho more than
Yeah,
I'm worried about Mainu because I've been watching some of the way he gets tackled recently. And it's just something for me. But I don't want to sound Man United pro centric, but I feel like the referees allow our players to get some tackles that he should not be allowing. And then if our players make any tackles similar, we get carded. And I
mm.
don't like that. Now, I don't mind not getting penalties and stuff. I don't care about those
You
things.
you are spot on there,
I
Mark, when
just
when you
have an
say that.
issue
But
with the tackles they
because a lot
allow
of the Man
players to put
United
on you like
players
that.
have incredible pace, and when you sprint at full speed, it doesn't take much with of a tackle to injure you, because you don't have the same strength to instability when you're running in full speed. So it's so easy to get injured, and you see Garnacho getting fouled a lot of the times, and I think the refs are too soft. They need to be harsher, and give more yellow cards to the opposition when it comes to United players. I don't think they are protecting the best players. No.
100%.
Mm.
You know, Jarvis, I know you only had 15 minutes. We've been here for like 55, bro. You
Yeah, no
know, I
problem.
don't want to keep you on too much longer. And I feel like the guys here all enjoyed, the interaction we was having. Big up to Craig. I see Dressings now coming in. I know
Hey,
he had
Drex.
some stuff to do, so he couldn't join me earlier, bro. Hope you got through it, everything. Guys, I just wanted to bring this back to the screen. This is what I was talking about earlier. Spotlight this one. So, guys, you can see this is the starting 11 I had picked earlier. Mostly picked the starting 11 because, I was trying to rotate the squad and offer some players, a chance to play and start and see what we could get from, maybe a performance from Omari Forson or Anthony at left back or Amad Diallo. I would have liked to had, Scott McTominay in striker and put Ahmad on the right. But unfortunately, we don't have Collymore to slap into midfield right now. He's unavailable. But guys, this is just my thoughts for what we might be seeing starting against,
Mm.
Nottingham Forest in midweek. But the manager's press conference is tomorrow, guys, and it's going to be one of those things where Mick and I are going to cover it. It's going to be live at 1:45. We're going to be live at 1:30 UK time, 15 minutes before the press conference starts. So,
Mm.
guys, hit those notification bells and don't forget to join us. Big up to Jarvis. Thank you so much, bro, for joining me for this stream. It was amazing to have
Yeah,
you,
thank you for having me.
interact. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us. Craig, you've been a champ, my lad. Champ in the comments. You think two players like Palestri and Hannibal, two players like that would be ideal? Yeah.
Mm.
You've been dropping some bombs in the chat, bro. You know, Thank you, Craig. Big up to Jarvis. He says, great stream earlier, by the way. Yes, Jarvis definitely had an ace of a stream earlier. Him and Stu, you know,
Yeah, it
Forrest
was
has a
good.
decent manager. This line might not be strong enough. I mean, you know what? You want to know something, Drex? The one thing I'm not too worried about with Forrest for this game is because they're in a relegation battle right now. It's tough with them right now. And I
Mm.
think he's going to have no choice but to prioritize the Premier League game upcoming because their fixture is a lot tougher than ours and they cannot afford to drop any points because they could be ending
Yeah,
up
they
in the
have Liverpool
relegation.
on Saturday
Huh?
at home. Forest.
Well, look at that. And if they lose and the two teams, Everton as well as Luton, was to win, Forest is in relegation. 3 points, like two
Mm.
points behind Luton, and they would be 3 points effectively behind Everton because I think they're ahead of Everton by 1 point or goal difference at the moment.
No,
So
no, Everton is on 25. Forest is on 24.
right. So they're 1 point behind. So they
Mm.
would be 2 points ahead and 1 point ahead of Luton, I think, or
Mm.
one or something like that. So it's one of those things, guys. I think it doesn't look strong really, but at the end of the day, these are Manchester United players. You know what I mean, and they are talented. As much as we could criticize them for different reasons, they're all talented players in their own right. And all we should be hoping for is that they come out to perform. I'm going to kick it to Jarvis to close the show. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Jarvis, thank you
Yeah.
so much, man.
Thanks to everybody for coming on. Not the VAR room, but the chat. Admiral Drex, Craig Warby, and Stephanie Griffith coming in here, and Jarle Malmin is coming in now at the right at the end, and come with the comment. There is a new team in the relegation battle also, Brentford. Yeah, that's true. Brentford is in the mud. They
Oh,
are on 25 points, the same as Everton. So basically, you have Everton, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, and Luton fighting it out for the last relegation spot. So it will be interesting to see. And Luton is on better shape now. They're looking good, Luton. So maybe they can string some wins together.
maybe. Big
Mm.
up to you, Yarli Malmeen. Thank you for coming in late. We're about to go. Jarvis needs to get to bed. I need to get some sleep. And everyone, we will see you tomorrow, midday live. Mick and I are going to be live with the manager's press conference at 1:30 UK time. Come in and let's have your comments. Let's hear what Ten Hag has to say to the press ahead of the Nottingham Forest clash on Wednesday. Guys, thank you for coming in. Hope you all have a good night. Big up to you, Jarvis. Thank you so
Big
much
up.
for being here. Guys, we see you all later. Hope you all have a good night. Don't forget to smash the likes and subscribe and leave your comments in the non-live section. It helps the channel, it helps the algorithm. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Oh.